The object was changing altitude, airspeed, things that my FLIR and my radar were having difficulty tracking. And then at the end of the encounter is when you see it dart off to my left on the FLIR pod. And that's when I was like, whoa, what just happened?
When the Pentagon released official videos of unidentified objects defying all laws of physics, they gave the public an answer. But for those who have spent their lives investigating, it may have been just a diversion, a calculated admission to conceal a much larger truth. From pilots being stripped of their licenses in Japan to the mysterious death of a CIA agent who saw an underground base in Alaska. The erased records of a scientist who worked at Area 51 and the sudden death of an intelligence agent shortly after he claimed to have found an underground base. These are not isolated events. They are links in a systematic cover-up campaign spanning more than half a century. So, what secret is the Pentagon hiding? Let's continue watching. The answer is yet to be revealed. Global Airspace Control System. For more than 7 decades, the modern world order has rested on a central assumption of security. Humanity holds absolute dominion over Earth's atmosphere. Since the end of the Second World War and the emergence of long-range radar systems, every movement in the sky has been monitored, classified, and managed through an extraordinarily strict protocol. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, or NORAD, together with the global network of civilian air traffic control, forms a vast electronic grid that blankets the planet. This system operates on a principle of enforced transparency. Every flying object, from a massive commercial Boeing 747 to the smallest private aircraft, must transmit an identifying signal through a transponder. If an unknown signal appears without identification, standard interception procedures are activated immediately. Fighter jets are scrambled, the target is visually confirmed, and, if necessary, force is used to secure national airspace. The confidence of military powers such as the United States, Russia, and China rests on physical control. They command the fastest machines, capable of flying the highest and carrying the greatest destructive force. The laws of aerodynamics taught in every Air Force academy define what cannot be exceeded: air resistance, inertia, gravity, and the speed of sound. An object that wishes to fly must generate lift through wings or thrust through jet engines. To change direction at high speed, it must endure enormous gravitational force. To break the sound barrier, it must produce the unmistakable shockwave of a sonic boom. Governments and armed forces have consistently reassured the public with a unified message: nothing can enter our airspace without being detected and addressed. Reports of unusual objects are swiftly explained away as weather balloons, optical phenomena, space debris re-entering the atmosphere, or simple human error. These explanations create a cognitive safe zone for society. We believe that human technology represents the pinnacle of technical evolution on this planet. Yet, this unwavering confidence in the global surveillance system now faces an unprecedented challenge. The entire defense network, from radar algorithms to interception protocols, was designed around human understanding of Newtonian physics. The system is programmed to search for missiles, jet aircraft, or bombers, objects that follow predictable trajectories. But if something were to appear and move in ways that disregard the physical laws we accept as truth, even the most sophisticated monitoring network would become blind. The assumption that we control the skies may be an illusion sustained only because we have never truly encountered an adversary operating beyond our own frame of reference. Verified encounters that defy known physics. The sense of security surrounding control of the skies began to fracture when internal data from the most advanced defense systems of the United States leaked into public view, revealing encounters that defy every existing scientific framework. On December 16, 2017, the New York Times published a groundbreaking investigation by journalists Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal. The article revealed the existence of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, known as AATIP, a secret Pentagon initiative tasked with investigating unidentified aerial phenomena. Alongside this disclosure came 3 declassified United States Navy videos titled Tic Tac, Gimbal, and Go Fast. These were not blurry images captured by civilians. They were data recorded by advanced infrared targeting systems mounted on multi-million-dollar F-18 Super Hornet fighter jets. The most striking incident occurred in 2004 off the coast of San Diego and involved the carrier strike group of the USS Nimitz. Radar operators aboard the cruiser USS Princeton detected unknown objects appearing at 80,000 feet, roughly 24 kilometers above sea level, near the edge of space. What shocked observers was what followed. The objects plunged from that altitude to just above the ocean surface in a matter of seconds, an action that would require extreme supersonic speed. Yet they halted abruptly and hovered without any sign of the deceleration expected under normal inertia. Lieutenant Commander David Fravor and Major Chad Underwood, veteran Navy pilots, were ordered to intercept and record the object. Underwood described it as resembling a smooth white tic-tac candy, with no wings, no rotors, no visible air intake, and, notably, no engine exhaust on infrared display. The object appeared colder than the surrounding environment, yet it moved with extraordinary velocity and acceleration as the F-18 pilots attempted to lock onto the target. The Tic Tac performed sudden directional changes that violated every rule of aerodynamics. It shifted from a stationary position to high Mach speed instantaneously. Such a maneuver would generate gravitational forces powerful enough to tear apart any human-made aircraft and kill any living being inside. Luis Elizondo, former director of AATIP, stated bluntly, "We do not have the capability to descend from 80,000 feet in seconds, nor do we possess any engine that operates without emitting heat or exhaust." The gimbal video, recorded in 2015 off the coast of Florida, shows a disc-shaped object flying against strong headwinds at high altitude. It then rotates 90 degrees while maintaining its direction and altitude. In aerodynamic terms, a craft rolling onto its side while continuing straight flight would lose lift and fall. The pilot's voices captured on the recording convey unmistakable astonishment. "Look at that thing. It is rotating." These data confirm a troubling reality. The objects do not rely on aerodynamic lift or conventional jet propulsion. They appear capable of manipulating gravity and inertia. The radar and sensor systems of the United States military, engineered to detect the most advanced threats from rival powers, were completely outmatched. These objects are not invisible in the optical sense. They are invisible to our physical rules. If such craft possess technology far beyond the defensive capacity of the world's most powerful military superpower, the urgent question is no longer what they are. It is how long they have been operating freely in our airspace without our knowledge. Documented international UAP incidents. As secrecy in the United States began to erode, investigators realized that the phenomenon was not confined to North American airspace. A comprehensive review of aviation and military records around the world revealed a consistent and systematic pattern of incursions on a global scale. These objects do not respect national borders. They show no regard for restricted airspace or civilian flight corridors in South America. Chile emerged as one of the first nations to openly study unidentified aerial phenomena. The Committee for the Study of Anomalous Aerial Phenomena, known as CEFAA, operating under the Chilean Directorate General of Civil Aviation, released a striking video recorded in 2014. A Chilean Navy helicopter equipped with a high-resolution Westcam infrared camera captured footage of a horizontally oriented oval object in flight. The crew, which included a naval captain and a technician, observed the object for nearly 10 minutes. What made the incident extraordinary was the infrared recording. The object appeared to expel a plume of extremely hot material into the air. Yet radar systems at Santiago Airport and aboard the helicopter detected nothing at all. The object was physically present and interacted thermally with its environment, but it remained invisible to radar. Perhaps the most historically significant and haunting case of large-scale intrusion took place in Japan. On November 17, 1986, Japan Airlines Flight 1628 was en route from Paris to Tokyo via Alaska. As the Boeing 747 crossed the Alaskan sky, Captain Kenju Terauchi, a former fighter pilot with more than 10,000 flight hours, and his crew witnessed two luminous objects flying alongside the aircraft. They matched the speed of the 747 at 500 miles per hour as though escorting it. Seemingly unaffected by the powerful headwinds at that altitude, the encounter escalated when the two smaller objects vanished, and a third appeared. According to Terauchi, it resembled a gigantic disk or sphere. With an estimated size comparable to 2 aircraft carriers, it was so immense that it obscured the night sky and cast an intense glow into the cockpit. The crew reported feeling heat on their faces. Both the aircraft radar and ground radar at the Anchorage Air Route Traffic Control Center confirmed the presence of an unknown object tracking Flight 1628. Military radar at nearby Elmendorf Air Force Base also recorded the intrusion. Captain Terauchi attempted evasive maneuvers, banking and changing altitude in an effort to break contact. The object followed relentlessly, shadowing the aircraft for nearly 50 minutes across the Alaskan sky. 3 professional crew members witnessed the event, and electronic data from the ground corroborated their account. When the cases from the United States, Chile, and Japan are examined together, a clear behavioral pattern emerges. These objects do not attack. Instead, they conduct reconnaissance, surveillance, and close proximity maneuvers. They approach military and civilian aircraft at dangerous distances, demonstrate absolute control of the airspace, and then depart at will. Radar data and eyewitness testimony confirm their physical presence. Yet their apparent decision to observe and withdraw suggests a more unsettling possibility. We are not merely being passively observed. We may be under systematic study. Our responses probed by an intelligence that remains concealed above our skies. While human technology proves powerless to prevent this surveillance, allegations of recovered craft and reverse engineering. The investigation collided with an uncomfortable reality when claims of recovered craft began to surface. What once appeared as fleeting blips on radar were now described as cold metallic machines allegedly held in human custody. Phenomena dismissed as inexplicable lights in the sky may have been studied in underground laboratories for decades. At the center of this narrative stands Bob Lazar. In 1989, Lazar appeared on television with his identity concealed and claimed that he had worked as a physicist at a highly classified facility known as S4. Located near Papoose Lake, south of the well-known Area 51 site in Nevada. At the time, his story sounded like science fiction, yet, when compared with modern data, certain details appear disturbingly coherent. Lazar asserted that he was hired to study the propulsion system of one of 9 flying discs stored at the facility. He referred to the craft he worked on as the Sport Model. According to his account, the vehicle operated in complete silence. It contained no visible seams, no rivets, no bolts, and appeared to be formed as a single seamless structure from an unknown metallic material. The central element of Lazar's testimony concerns its method of propulsion. He described a compact reactor at the core of the craft that utilized an extremely heavy element he called Element 115. In 1989, this element had not yet been synthesized by science and did not appear on the periodic table. It was officially recognized in 2003 as moscovium. Lazar claimed that the reactor generated an intense artificial gravitational field, allowing the craft to bend space and time around itself rather than rely on conventional thrust. He further explained that the vehicle had 2 flight modes. One mode was intended for low-altitude movement, while the other was designed for space travel. When shifting into high-speed travel, the craft would tilt forward, directing its gravitational amplifiers toward its destination. For decades, this technical detail was widely ridiculed. Then, in 2017, the United States Navy released the gimbal video. In the footage, the unidentified object executes a 90-degree rotation consistent with Lazar's description of the flight configuration. The shape of the Tic Tac object, recorded in 2004, also closely resembles the wingless, engineless craft Lazar claimed to have seen in briefing materials at S4. The convergence between testimony from the late 1980s and contemporary visual evidence creates a profound cognitive shock. If Lazar's account is accurate, it would imply that the United States government has not only known about these craft, but has possessed them. It would mean that efforts to dismantle, study, and replicate this technology have been underway for at least 4 decades. Yet possession does not guarantee control. Lazar also suggested that attempts to activate these machines were often difficult and dangerous, and that human scientific understanding remained insufficient to fully grasp their principles. To hold technology capable of transforming global energy systems and transportation, while concealing it in secrecy, raises enormous ethical and security questions. More importantly, if such craft are stored inside military hangars, who created them and delivered them to Earth? Their true origin may not be as distant as we once believed. Claims of subterranean, non-human presence. The familiar narrative of visitors from distant stars is profoundly unsettled when declassified documents from the Central Intelligence Agency suggest a far more unsettling possibility. These entities may not be arriving from remote galaxies. They may already be here, concealed within the Earth itself, sharing our world in silence. During the Cold War, the CIA and United States military intelligence launched a classified initiative known as Project Stargate. Its objective was not advanced weaponry, but the exploration of human consciousness through a technique called remote viewing. Practitioners claimed they could perceive distant or hidden targets through focused mental processes. Though the concept appeared improbable, the project received millions of dollars in funding and continued for more than 2 decades. With participation from respected scientists at the Stanford Research Institute, one of the program's most prominent remote viewers was Pat Price, a former police officer whose reported accuracy drew serious attention. In a session during the 1970s, Price was tasked with scanning the Alaskan region for strategic installations, instead of Soviet missile sites. He described something entirely unexpected beneath Mount Hayes. Mount Hayes is the highest peak in the eastern Alaska Range, situated in a remote and unforgiving region often associated with what is called the Alaska Triangle. The area has long been linked to a high number of disappearances involving both aircraft and individuals, along with persistent reports of unexplained lights. In his viewing state, Price claimed to perceive a vast underground facility inside the mountain. He described tunnels, advanced computer systems, and complex geological apparatus. Most disturbing was his account of the inhabitants. Price reported seeing humanoid figures who were not human. They possessed unusual physical features, distinct eyes, and emanated what he described as a cold and alien presence. Even more troubling was his claim that human military personnel appeared to be working alongside these beings. The interaction did not resemble an invasion. It suggested cooperation or the transfer of technology. Price's report concerning Mount Hayes remained classified for decades. When the documents were later released under the Freedom of Information Act, researchers were forced to reconsider fundamental assumptions about unidentified aerial phenomena. The concept of extraterrestrials arriving from deep space gave way to a different hypothesis. Perhaps a hidden civilization, sometimes described as crypto-terrestrial, exists within the planet or beneath the oceans. Operating parallel to human society, this possibility transforms the nature of fear. If such beings originate in distant space, distance offers a measure of defense, But if they are already here, concealed within mountains we have always known, then the intrusion is not forthcoming. It is complete. The discovery of specific locations and alleged interaction alters the role of the observer. Those who look too closely may themselves become targets. The line between investigating a mystery and safeguarding one's life begins to blur, as those who peer too deeply into the darkness often pay a heavy price. Institutional suppression and whistleblower retaliation. The consequences of approaching the truth about unidentified aerial phenomena are not enlightenment or recognition. They are often systematic punishments carried out by a machinery of secrecy that appears to operate beyond national law. Those who step forward, whether accidental witnesses or insiders, frequently encounter a harsh and deliberate campaign of silence. The case of Pat Price remains both illustrative and tragic. Not long after reporting his vision of the underground installation at Mount Hayes and expressing concern that he may have been detected by the entities he described, Price died under mysterious circumstances at the Stardust Hotel in Las Vegas in 1975. The official cause of death was listed as heart failure. Yet the surrounding details remain troubling. Witnesses reported that an unknown man collided with Price moments before he collapsed. No autopsy was performed. His body was cremated swiftly before his family could intervene. A leading intelligence asset died suddenly without thorough investigation, leaving an enduring question. Was he silenced to prevent further disclosure? In Japan, Captain Kenju Tarochi paid a different price. After courageously reporting the JAL 1628 encounter to the media, believing the public had a right to know, he faced professional retaliation. The respected and experienced pilot was grounded by his airline and reassigned to a desk position for years. He was portrayed as unreliable despite radar confirmation and corroborating testimony from his crew. The message was unmistakable: remain silent or lose everything. Within the United States, the mechanism of suppression operates at a more institutional level. John Callahan, former chief of the Accident Investigation Division at the Federal Aviation Administration, later described a closed meeting involving officials from the CIA and members of President Reagan's scientific advisory team regarding the JAL 1628 incident. After reviewing radar data and audio recordings, a CIA representative reportedly stood and declared, "This meeting never happened. We will confiscate all the data." Callahan discreetly retained a copy, allowing the world to glimpse the extent of intelligence intervention in civilian aviation records. For Bob Lazar, the consequences have taken the form of sustained harassment. After publicly discussing his alleged work near Area 51, key elements of his personal history, including educational and employment records, appeared to vanish from official archives. His business was subjected to repeated investigations by federal authorities under ambiguous justifications. His life became one of constant scrutiny and isolation. These patterns of suppression suggest a troubling conclusion. The greatest fear may not stem from unknown beings, but from our own institutions. There appears to be a network of interests willing to dismantle careers, reputations, and perhaps even lives to preserve secrecy. This concealment does not simply aim to prevent public panic. It hints that the secret being guarded may involve not only the existence of non-human intelligence, but the possibility of governmental impotence or complicity in its presence. The cover is not maintained because the situation is under control. It may be maintained because control has already been lost. Official admission of unexplained phenomena. In June 2021, the preliminary assessment on unidentified aerial phenomena released by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence formally ended decades of categorical denial. Yet it simultaneously inaugurated a new era defined by existential unease. The 9-page report was concise, but its implications were profound. Of the 144 cases recorded by the United States military between 2004 and 2021, Analysts equipped with the most advanced satellite systems and sensor technologies could explain only one. The remaining 143 were assigned to a newly created category simply labeled Other. This classification is not a scientific solution. It is an admission. The report acknowledged that these objects are not secret United States technology, as some skeptics had assumed, nor are they attributable to known capabilities of strategic rivals such as Russia or China. It further noted that certain phenomena appear to demonstrate advanced technology and require additional scientific knowledge to understand. The language is restrained, yet its meaning is unmistakable. Human physics may be inadequate to explain what is unfolding in our skies. When former Pentagon officials such as Luis Elizondo and Christopher Mellon described the situation as concerning, they are not invoking a cinematic invasion filled with explosions and spectacle. The concern lies in the imbalance of power. Humanity has long regarded itself as the dominant force on this planet. The presence of unidentified aerial phenomena capable of penetrating the most restricted airspace, reportedly interfering with nuclear systems at missile installations, and maneuvering in ways that defy physics, challenges that assumption. We may not be alone, yet we are not equal partners either. We resemble isolated tribes witnessing jet aircraft pass overhead, awed and unsettled, unable to influence or prevent their presence. The veil of secrecy maintained for 70 years may not have been designed to protect a superior technology under government control. It may have been intended to conceal a more painful truth: powerlessness. The objects are here. They possess technology that may surpass ours by thousands or even millions of years. They enter and exit our skies and perhaps our underground realms at will. Governments, militaries, and powerful institutions appear to hold no decisive authority over them. As the curtain of manufactured security is drawn aside, humanity stands exposed before the vast indifference of the cosmos, suddenly smaller and more vulnerable than ever before. The final question is no longer whether they are real. It is what they intend, and what we can possibly do beyond watching in silence.